The quality of the questions that you ask yourself inside your head, because you're always talking to yourself, is going to be the quality of your life. So if you ask yourself positive questions, you get positive answers. Let's talk a little bit about how the brain works. And just about every brain researcher in the world, in fact, none of the brain researchers disagree with what I'm going to say. And that is that they may not know the mechanism or how it works, but if you ask yourself a question, your brain searches for the answer. So for example, have you ever tried to remember the name of a song or remember the name of a movie? You're trying to tell somebody, oh, there's a movie you have to see and you can't remember the name, right? Or it's the name of a person, you can't remember their name. And you're asking yourself, what is her name? What is her name? And then maybe 4 hours later, or even in the middle of the night, or at some crazy time driving down the street, Lisa, that was her name. That's right. Then you call your friend and say, yeah, I was talking about Lisa. Remember Lisa? Oh, yeah. Because when you ask yourself a question, your brain gives you an answer. If it's a positive question, you're going to get a positive answer. Now, this is powerful stuff. This has helped me throughout my life. I learned this technique when I was about 23 years old. It is if I had to give one thing credit, it is the one thing that has helped me get any level of success. Because some of my positive questions were, how can I become self-employed? How can I have more impact on people? How can I transition from what I'm doing now into doing something much bigger? How can I get a promotion? When you ask these questions, just like the person's name that you were trying to remember, at 1 o'clock in the morning, boom, it's like, that's it. Or 4 o'clock in the morning, that's it. You'll get the answer. I'll never forget when my father, I'll never forget this. And my father, who I've already told you is a musician, he's a trumpet player, and he had a stint in sales for quite some time, and he lost a job. And if you've ever seen one of your parents lose their job, it's also kind of devastating to you because my father's a positive guy, and I rarely remember him when he was sad. And he had a very sad day one day, and he was bummed out. And my mind at the time, I didn't quite get what he was going through, but I was young. I was probably 23 years old, but I learned this technique already. Ask yourself positive questions, get positive answers. It's also a great way to put yourself in a good mood. So he goes, you know what? I can't seem to find a job. And he goes, and I don't understand why nobody will hire me. And I said to him, because I'm not the kind of person that wants to give his dad advice, I said, so when you're thinking, is that what you're asking yourself all day long? Why won't anybody hire me? He goes, yeah, I can't figure it out. Why won't anybody hire me? Now think about this. If you're asking yourself, why won't anybody hire me? You're going to get the negative answers, which is because, maybe you're too old. Maybe you're not so good. Maybe you're incompetent. It's the same thing in relationships. How come I can't find somebody I like? I dated somebody like this that was negative. It's like, how come I get all the bad breaks? How come I don't ever get good things happening to me? Boy, that's a dangerous attitude because I believe in the power of the brain. And so if she's asking herself, why don't I get all the good breaks? It's going to put her into a downward spiral of you don't get breaks because you're not deserving of the breaks. It's because you're not good looking enough. It's because you're not smart enough. It's because you're not fast enough. It's because you don't have a big enough personality. There's a lot of books about positive mental attitude, but the true technique, and I'm convinced of this, is if you don't start asking yourself better questions, good luck just saying a bunch of affirmations. An affirmation would be, I'm the best, I'm the best, I know I can do this, I know I can do this. Because if you can't do this and you're not the best, your brain's going to tell you you're not the best. It's a lie. You can't lie to yourself. So the best thing to do is, what do I have to do to turn around? How do I become more educated? How do I get a raise? How do I get the boss? How do I get the doctor to like me more? How do I get noticed? You will get the answers. This is more powerful than you think. Oprah Winfrey said it on her show as one of the reasons for her success. She says, I think I ask better questions of myself than most people. She asks, am I doing everything I could do to reach my full potential? Boy, that's a good question. Ross Perot, famous billionaire, ran for president. He couldn't talk and smile, ever. Guy never smiled. Probably the reason why he lost. But he said, he asked him, in business, he would ask, how can I turn this around? And he would constantly get answers. In fact, even doing this training program, because I wanted to do this training program for many years, but I couldn't get myself to do it. So I had to constantly ask, what do I have to do to get motivated to do it? What do I have to do to just do it? What do I have to do to build the confidence where I think I could just do this? Where I'm asking all these crazy questions, and I started getting answers, and another answer, and another answer, and I was sold. And I had enough positive answers where I finally took action with my goals. Now, this is a book about, or this is a video series, a course about selling and about communication. So sometimes your brain, you're going to have to ask yourself questions when you're with a patient. Sometimes a patient needs your services, needs the dentistry that you are offering so much, but you can't get it through their thick head. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, what can I say that can help them understand? What can I show them that can convince them that they'll be better off? Especially now, if you've done a proper need analysis, if you've dug deep for their emotions, you know how long they've been suffering. You get a lot of leverage. You're not a salesperson. You know that they'll be better off because you have references of other patients that took action with some of the dentistry and some of the procedures that you're recommending, and you know how happy they're going to be. So when you ask these questions with a patient, you're going to get the answers in your brain. Sometimes, and this is the beautiful thing, is you get fast answers. You know, there's an expression that God's delays are not God's denials. It's like when you ask in prayer that eventually you get it, and it happens at some crazy times. So keep asking yourself positive questions. And when you're with a patient, let's say a patient you don't like, because this is fact. This is a fact of life, right? Sometimes you have to ask, and I've played this game, what do I like about this guy? And sometimes my brain will say nothing. Well, what is it I like about this guy? Well, he's a good father. He raised good kids. He's been married for 25 years. I have to play these kind of games. And then what ends up happening is I'm focusing on what's good about this guy.